wildfire. You can't catch us now. Running, 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 yeah. Out here on run. Running, yeah.
You ready to go, Guy?
I am ready.
Sure?
This is a spicy day.
It's been kind of a heavy couple of weeks, honestly.
Yeah.
We're going to find some lighter content for our weekend show. I'm just going to tell you that right now because I think our audience might need it. I don't know. Like, this has just been, everybody, I think, is feeling a lot of weight over the last couple of weeks. And we are no different. We definitely feel the weight. And we'd like to tell you some more uplifting news, quite frankly. Apparently, that's not coming in at you today, but we'll work on finding some happier pieces to share.
And I think I don't know. I mean, I spend a lot of time, in the Bible trying to just find a pathway through in some of this. And it is difficult.
It's daunting.
It is daunting and trying to weave through your faith and how you navigate all of this. Mm-hmm. And so we're going to talk about a lot of different things today. I'll go through the quick stuff we've got here. The ice shooting. Mm-hmm. Okay. Someone got on a rooftop and unloads on an ice building and into an ice van. Mm-hmm. 2 people are dead. 2 people that were, I think, in detention, in ICE detention, they were killed. Okay, so I don't think the gunman's desired result occurred. But this person then, in the cowardly move that shooting itself is, they killed themselves too. But it's pretty clear where this motivation came from. The FBI's already given some information out. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about how the media handles these things and how the way the media handles them, unfortunately, has led to this sort of violence being prolonged, not being stopped. And so I'll get into that explanation just a little bit on this. And we'll talk about rhetoric that continues to be white hot from leaders who don't seem to understand that their words matter. And that if you use these words and if you go out and incite people, you're going to get a bad result. It's the ultimate in a lack of leadership, but we continue to see it. So we'll talk about that. We're also going to talk about what's going on with this autism thing and Tylenol being, kind of targeted as a potential cause for autism. And this too is now political. And as a family who is in the middle of the autism battle, it's important to us, right? Mm-hmm. And we're going to talk about that. And it is so political, it's disheartening. Okay. And then we're going to talk about doctors coming into New Mexico and the chance to actually add healthcare to the state of New Mexico. A chance to actually do something that could make a pretty quick difference, actually. Maybe not have doctors move here. We're not going to do that, of course. But
don't get your hopes up, people. But yeah.
This is a bipartisan thing where, believe it or not, the governor, the Speaker of the House, Republicans all say the same thing. But there's one group who says, oh, no. Not so fast, my friend. We're not going to allow this to happen. And so we'll get into that, showing that, again, not political here, but it definitely affects every New Mexican who needs healthcare along the way. And then we're also going to talk about what happened with the Google censorship. You want to talk about censorship? Google admitted this week, hey, we censored you. Mm-hmm. We're sorry about that. At the government's behest, we did this. Mm-hmm. Jonathan Turley had an interesting article on that, which we're going to talk about as well. We'll get briefly into the Kimmel deal as well. But then we'll talk about a variety of other issues as well. Another candidate has jumped in to what's happening here with the race for CD2. Mm-hmm. And so we get into that as well. So all of this is on the way, and it should be rather exciting stuff.
Okay, well, let's start with your hoodie, because actually people can't see it, so you're going to do your standing up thing again.
Here we go. New Mexico Junior College, baby.
Yeah, New Mexico Junior College.
Yes.
It's a little hot right now for you to be wearing it so soon,
well,
but I know you wanted to show your appreciation. A gentleman of your name, Guy Kestner, he actually wrote the kindest note to us, sympathy card response to me losing my mother. So thank you, Guy. That was so thoughtful of you. And added that very nice hoodie for Mark.
Oh, so super cool.
I guarantee you he'll be wearing it well past now, because as the temperatures dip.
Yeah.
So very thoughtful of you to ship that our way.
Oh, Guy, this is awesome. Thank you. Yeah. And I do love the stuff. our viewers send
I
and,
know,
and
they're so
listeners send.
nice.
They
It's so
send the
sweet.
coolest stuff. We've got Lovington stuff.
Yep.
We've gotten Artesia stuff. We've got New Mexico Junior College stuff. We've got the Carlsbad Cavemen. We get all kinds of stuff.
It's very sweet.
Oh.
And I
And I'll
loved
wear every bit of it, I promise.
I loved the very thoughtful sympathy card for my mom. That meant a lot to me. So thank you for your words and just taking the time to do that. That was so nice of you to even do that. So thank you so much. We have some more emails from viewers out there. It's been a long time since we've shared any, and I apologize. We've just been stack. This is a little bit of the fun, okay? So let's put a little bit of the lightheartedness at the beginning. Deneen wrote in, said, I was there talking about the Charlie Kirk Memorial. When Erica announced her forgiveness to the assassin, it broke me. What an amazing example of a Christian she is. And then Wayne Jones wrote in, God cannot forgive your sins if you do not forgive people that have sinned against you. Thank you, Wayne. I learned that in Sunday school. I believe that was in response to the fact that I was just being as honest as I could possibly be and saying, listen, I would need a while to be able to forgive somebody if they took out my husband. I just would. That's just me being human. And I admitted that's full pride, right? But I'm aware that like it's my job to forgive people who sin against us, so God can forgive us. I'm super aware of that. I was just trying to be authentic and saying, hey, I would struggle with that soon. Yeah. That I think forgiveness for me would be like a wave. And we talked about this in my Bible study actually on Monday. Our group talked about how it would be like a wave, like where you would be like, yep, I'm going to forgive this person. And then you'd probably hit a low again. And then you'd have to like come back up and have to ask God to help you forgive this person again. And I just think it's probably something that Erica will have to do over and over and over throughout the course of her life. I imagine, if she's human, which she is. And so of course I applaud her on all that. So
yeah, I agree. And I had the same response, which is I don't think I could forgive the person especially right away, but especially if they did not seek forgiveness.
Right.
But again, I get it. There are some people that are more pious than me that I think can just be, or just the forgiveness monsters, and they're just handing it out. I get it.
Well, no,
and
some
that's why
people
we'll never lie to you. We'll
Yeah.
tell you what we think, and if we're flawed human beings, and we're going to say it.
Oh, we're super flawed. So yeah we're definitely we're not Father Mark and Sister Christy.
Yes.
No way. No, not
I
even
got
close to
plenty
that.
of Hail Marys and Our Fathers to say in confession. I promise you that.
Okay, and then this last one came in by Love My Soul Dog. Kimmel was on the way out, and I think he purposely lied to use it to claim his free speech was violated to keep his horrific non-comedy show retained. His show was on the way out. Also note, this is a public broadcast network, not cable. Yep, absolutely. Okay, I had to put this one in. This is a little surprise for you, Mark. You haven't actually seen this yet.
Okay.
This is a little fun video that came in from our viewer, Jennifer Lowry.
Okay.
And her dog, Daisy, apparently is a big fan of your game cameras.
Okay,
so
let's see
hit play on this and turn the volume up.
I'm never going to be able to walk alone.
Look how big he is. Look how thick he is.
Okay, so Daisy just went running towards the TV. She is watching you discuss the mountain lions that you showed a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
And Daisy is fully in. She's fully in on this.
Oh,
and
yeah,
if you
she
watch
is.
Daisy, she doesn't move. She's barking. She's wagging her tail.
Oh yeah, she got the That's the bobcat.
Yeah, bobcat. And then you showed some
she's
elk.
concerned about the elk. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, I just think this is hysterical. And our own Huskies have done this for
Right.
stuff that we've
Right.
had on television as well. So thank you, Daisy, for giving a point for Mark's game camera. And thank you, Jennifer, for sending it in. It was and she put a lovely note with it. So thank you so much for that. I just thought that would be
That's super cool.
another point for you
Yes.
for game camera.
Yeah, the game camera. Everybody loves them. Everybody loves
not
them.
everybody, but you
Everybody
have
loves them.
not
Y'all love
everybody. Not
It's
me.
all- it's unanimous
not
love.
Christy, but everybody else.
Everybody
So I
does.
think it's just a reminder of all the scary things that are out there that I don't want to run into.
Yeah.
Up in the mountains it's right next to where we're building. So that's all I'm saying. I'd rather not know. I think
Okay.
I'd rather not know.
Okay. Well,
All right,
let's
dive
be
in.
honest. There's a reality out there, and there
Okay.
are bears. All right, there are bears, and there are mountain lions.
Please don't give us the bear story again right now.
They're not interested in messing with you. They're really not.
Okay. So you say. All right.
All right. So here we go. Let's get to this. Let's start with this attack on an ICE facility. Here we go again. This morning in Dallas at an ICE facility, a gunman got on a rooftop and unloaded into an ICE building with bullets and into an ICE van. Okay, killed 2 people. 2 detainees were killed in this process. Okay, here we go. More violence at the barrel of a gun. I mean, here we go again, right? So here is the statement that was issued by FBI Director Kash Patel, and surprise, surprise, we have more violence.
This morning, just before 7 a.m. local time, an individual fired multiple rounds at a Dallas, Texas ICE facility, killing one, wounding several others before taking his own life. FBI, DHS, ATF are on the ground with Dallas PD and state authorities. While the investigation is ongoing, an initial review of the evidence shows an ideological motive behind this attack. See photo below. One of the unspent shell casings recovered was engraved with the phrase, quote, anti-ICE. More updates will be forthcoming. And then it keeps going. It says these despicable, politically motivated attacks against law enforcement are not a one-off. We are only miles from Prairieland, Texas, where just 2 months ago, an individual ambushed a separate ICE facility targeting their officers. It has to end, and the FBI and our partners will lead these investigative efforts to see to it that those who target our law enforcement are pursued and brought to the fullest extent of justice. Thankfully, no law enforcement personnel were injured. Please pray for the injured and the deceased. And then here's a picture of the bullets that were found at the scene that he shared as well. And you can see right there, it says anti-ICE on the casings.
Yeah. Okay. So 2 innocent people who happened to be in ICE detention who did not deserve to be summarily executed on a Wednesday morning in Dallas were. Because violence is violence. And here we go again. This is the same thing. It just keeps happening. And I want to listen to a couple of people talking about this, and I want to get into rhetoric on this because it matters. What we're seeing now more and more is even in the wake of Charlie Kirk, you saw a great outpouring from a lot of people, but then you also saw a terrifying acceptance and embrace of violence.
In celebration, actually.
In celebration, yeah,
there was plenty
absolutely.
of people that were celebrating.
Because hey, we don't like him, so therefore he it's okay that he gets shot.
Right.
Like that has happened too many times for me to be comfortable with it. And it's horrendous. And
just to clarify really
Yeah.
quickly, Mark, because I read in that tweet that there were, obviously I just read it, and it says that, it said that 2 people, 1 person was killed and 1 person's injured.
No, 2 people are dead.
Okay, so that's more recent, though. That information just came out.
Yes.
Okay, so I just want to clarify that for our viewers. Okay.
2 people that were being detained were dead. Now, remember this much, too. One of the people, some of this, and none of this matters, by the way, what I'm about to say. But some people are saying, oh, well, because 2 migrants were killed, it was probably a Republican. First of all, that's ridiculous because they fired into a van. Okay, they fired into the building. Okay, they're trying to kill ICE officers. That's what they're doing. But even if whoever they were aiming for, it's not okay. It's not okay. And again, it just keeps happening. And I have a theory on some of this. So I want to start with this. And it's CNN trying to talk about, we don't know what the motive is. Yeah, you pretty quickly know exactly what the motive is. Okay, that's not a mystery here. But I want you to just listen here to John Miller about what he has to say here in the we don't know what the motive is. Who really knows what the motive is?
We don't know whether this was an anti-migrant shooting because of the victimology who was struck, or whether this is an anti-ICE shooting. And the governor's statements about assassination suggest he has some information that we don't have yet, and that may not be entirely clear to authorities. So the press conference is going to be very pivotal because they're going to be able to tell us in some form what they know, what they don't know, and what they're doing to find out.
Okay, so very quickly, we do know what the motive in this was. But here's the problem. And earlier in that same CNN programming, the anchor said, we still don't really know the Charlie Kirk shooter's motive. Okay? Yeah, we do. Yeah, we do. Okay, we know this. We know all this.
And we know this because his parents are the ones that went and told and filed the police reports, and their his dad's a former law enforcement officer. Right. Their kid told them. Like, it wasn't like third-hand knowledge. It was direct first-person testimony that's why they were able to make that conclusion as quickly as they were.
That's right. And here's the connection I want to draw. By the media, and it's not just CNN, it's all of the establishment media. They keep trying to make excuses or not report on the reality that there is a real issue right now with these people who call themselves anti-fascists and far leftists embracing violence. They're embracing it. Okay, they are, and they're doing it. We're watching it. Okay, now it's weekly. So here's where I think the problem is. By the media trying to cover and saying, we really don't know. We're not really sure. Who really knows? It's both sides. They do the whole thing. Here's what happens in that case. You never allow good, well-meaning Democratic leaders to be able to stand up and condemn this and rip it. Because if it got out there and they went out and honestly reported on it and said, there is a real problem here, you would allow your leaders the cover to say, we have a problem, we will address it, we will not stand for it. But they won't do it. They won't admit there's a problem. So therefore, any Democratic leader that comes out and says anything, well, they get hammered because they're like, what are you talking about? Everything we're hearing, that's not true. Nobody knows what the real motivation was. There's no real ground to tell the truth. It happened with Biden. They would not admit that he was not well. They covered time after time. And so what happened? It just kept going. And it got worse and worse and worse. And it blew up in their face. This is going to happen again.
Well, it is happening. I mean, if you actually read the New York Times, the same writers that were covering for Biden, right? They're doing the same thing in the Charlie Kirk situation. You're kind of hoping like, man, this turnout, maybe we'll actually start changing some minds and getting some journalists to actually cover things more just balancedly. Like, I don't ask them to come to the other side of their way of thinking, but at least to cover something in a fair way. And they're not. Like the Charlie Kirk thing is still like, oh, the great unknown. I guess we won't know until we go to court. No, we know. We actually know. And you knew about Biden and you covered from him there too. So I just think.
Well, had they said on Biden, hey, look, this isn't right. Everybody knows this. Then all of a sudden you would have had this litigated 2 years ago. And then you would have had a presidential race that didn't look anything like it did. Now, if they want to keep doing this, they get their own results and they get exactly what they deserve because of it. But this is far more dangerous. Well, although a president of the United States not being able to handle the job is a huge issue, but this is terrible, right? And so what we see here is just the continued, and then the rhetoric just keeps getting worse. Even the leading figures in the Democratic Party are saying stuff that it's crazy. 2 days ago, Gavin Newsom is in Sacramento with his legislature, and in the bill they passed in California was to make sure that ICE agents can't wear masks. Listen to Gavin Newsom describe this.
I'll be signing a bill, first in the nation, saying enough. ICE, unmask. What are you afraid of? What are you afraid of?
They're forcing ICE to unmask, and Gavin Newsom has the gall to say, what are you afraid of? After multiple shootings into ICE facilities, and today, 2 migrants are dead because of it.
And I'm sorry, and we haven't learned from defund the police and the riots and the violence that came after officers in 2020, 2021. You haven't learned from that history. My question on that is, does he even have the authority to do that because ICE officers are federal?
No, he has no
so
authority.
him signing some sort of state law, state
like,
bill.
Yeah. It's
it
like,
just feels like he's just
telling a federal prosecutor, you can't press those charges. Okay, champ.
Yeah,
Like,
okay.
you
I
have
didn't
no
think
say.
that it's just him propagating, right? Like him, like, hey, look at me.
Oh, no, it's preening. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And no doubt. But again, I want to just follow this thread for a second.
Okay.
So let's follow another one. Okay, this is also Newsom. The reason I bring up Newsom is he is the leading contender to be the Democratic nominee. We need leadership from Gavin Newsom to help this country, and I mean that. I clearly don't share his beliefs, but we need him to be sane. Mm-hmm. We need sane leaders. I don't care what side you're on. You can't have nutbags.
Yeah.
Like, you can't do it. So Gavin Newsom then comes out yesterday and says this.
I fear that we will not have an election in 2028. I really mean that in the core of my soul, unless we wake up to the code red, what's happening in this country, and we wake up soberly to how serious this moment is.
Okay. This is what I mean. Okay. When you have a media that does not cover stories, look at him run to the left. Look at him run to the most extreme positions. He knows for a fact there's going to be an election in 2028. He's running for president like a mo. He is going for it. For a guy who doesn't think there's going to be an election, he's sure running hard. He's sure running. He knows there's going to be an election. But what is he doing? He's lighting the flames as much as possible because he knows the voters he has to convince. And because there is no honest media coverage of the environment that is developing in this country that is so very clear, and because they're not doing it, there is no cover for someone like a Newsom. If he had guts, he'd stand up and be a real leader. Don't get me wrong, okay? But I'm saying that if we're just talking about real cover for these people, because too many politicians are gutless. We all know this, right? But if there was real cover here, if there was a real admission, there is a massive violence problem here. They are solving problems at the end of a gun. And don't both sides this for me. You can see it happening right in front of us, just like you could see the Biden deal. We all saw it, right? So you've got to admit this. And because there's no cover, that's what worries me, is that you continue to see the rhetoric. The rhetoric of the extremes is becoming the rhetoric of the leaders, which is really, really scary. We can't have that.
Right. Well, it gets worse even on a state level. We have Senator Joe Cervantes. He's comparing ICE in this meeting to the KKK. Like, it's unbelievable. I just think when you are, again, in leadership and you don't think through what comes flowing out of your mouth and how it could impact people. And again, most people are normal, sane individuals and don't, they can take or leave what a leader says, actually. But all you need is a couple of cuckoo birds that on either side of the aisle, right, that take this verbatim, say, oh my gosh, an ICE officer, it's KKK. Let me do something about that, right? So why you're not a mature person when you're in leadership and think through what you verbalize before you say it. Take a listen to this.
Well, by the way, just so you know, this is a hearing a couple of days or yesterday. There was a hearing, and Joe Cervantes is head of the Judiciary Committee of the New Mexico State Legislature. So there's probably no senator who is more powerful, really, than Joe Cervantes is in a lot of different ways. And there are many times where we talked about him on this show where he's been the adult in the room. He's been the adult in the room in the legislature. That has happened multiple times, but not in this particular case, as you rightfully point out.
And there are a lot of people that are unhappy. You can hear from the passion of my colleagues here, my co-chair, when children are being put on planes and people are being taken in the night, and people are raiding mobile home parks, and they're doing it with masks, and something we haven't seen since the KKK days, right? And so we're in a place that we don't want to be going, I think, a lot of us. And I'm always proud to be part of a profession that will write that. We'll write that with segregation. We'll write that with civil rights. We'll write that with the laws we pass here today, and we'll write it with lawsuits.
Oh yeah, lawsuits.
Right. So there you go. Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So again, ridiculous. Comparing ICE to the KKK is ridiculous. But look at this picture. Do you remember when the Republican headquarters were firebombed here in New Mexico? Again, more violence. Right. This was a few months ago.
Right.
What's on the wall?
It says ICE equals KKK.
So Cervantes is now taking the language of extremists and is using it instead of the other way around. Instead of leaders leading, the extremists now are pushing in this type of rhetoric, and our leaders are falling for it. And they're jumping on it. Why?
Yeah,
Why are they doing this?
And I don't understand, because again, if you even just boil down his whole comments, or he's still defending people here being here illegally that are criminals. Like, again, if you just boil it down, and if we would allow ICE officers to go into our jails and our prison systems, which is what they've asked for, is that cooperation, we don't have to be going into a mobile trailer park, Joe. Like, the whole point is, this is a ripple effect from poor leadership on a statewide level to start with. So I just think, again, it's dangerous territory. It's dangerous on either side of the aisle to be giving inflammatory language and stoking the fire, because you don't know who's out there that's listening to what you say and how they implement it, how they process that information, and then what they do with it. And I think that we're seeing that now. We saw that with this guy who just shot Charlie Kirk. So it's like, wake up. Like, just wake up.
And the media continues to play their unbelievable role in this. Again, I can't let this go,
is bad.
because they could absolutely be a calming force in this, meaning hold everyone to account. But this is the headline from NBC News 2 days ago. ICE agents held a 5-year-old autistic girl outside her Massachusetts home to pressure her father to surrender to authorities last week, according to the girl's family. Okay, first of all, really? Is that how this goes? You have someone that's about to be arrested. You go to their family as the primary source, and you're like, oh, what's the deal? And the family's, are you kidding? That's completely irresponsible to use their family as your primary source and to write the headline that way. Oh, but then, of course, they find out none of it's true. It didn't actually happen. So again, you've got a shooter who probably read this. And then, of course, had been planning this anyway, because it takes some planning to do this. You don't get on top of that building and start shooting into an ICE facility this morning the way he did without planning. And then, of course, you get NBC who says, ooh, correction. Sorry about that earlier story. ICE agents didn't really do it that way. Turns out the girl's family may not be the best source because relative was being arrested at the time for violent crime, by the way. Okay. So again, just another example of what happens with all of this and the rhetoric where you see just the white hot rhetoric, the media not holding people to account on both sides, only one side. They only believe in holding to account on one side.
Well, you have to read. Wait, we should give them credit and just read what they said, because for people that are listening to us, they don't see this. We showed it, but let me just read it. So they're changing their headline. Said,
yeah, no, you're right.
Video shows ICE with 5-year-old girl while agents attempt to arrest her father. Correction. An earlier version of this article mischaracterized the activities of ICE agents in the video. The article has been updated. So I just want to make sure we actually read that for
right. And then
folks out there.
again, a lie works its way halfway around the world before the
Right.
truth gets its pants on. So
Right.
thank you very much. But the fact that they even wrote a headline grabbing the girl's family and them basically lying to the media and lying to NBC, and NBC just dutifully writes the headline. It's incompetence at its highest level, and it's becoming more and more dangerous. This just keeps gaining speed because we don't have any accountability in this country. We don't. Joe Cervantes should be questioned by everybody. Every station in New Mexico should be tracking down Joe Cervantes and saying, why are you comparing ICE to the KKK? And do you worry that your rhetoric is mirroring the violent rhetoric that firebombed your political opponents? Are you concerned? Should you really be using that rhetoric? Will Joe Cervantes be asked that question? No. Will KOET call him? Nope. KOB? Nah. KRQE? Pff, forget it. The Journal? No. I'm sorry. I just don't even, this is so bad for the country as a whole. See, I told you I was fiery today. You're like, you knew I was in a bad mood.
I told him, I was like, gosh, guy, I don't know. We should maybe temper. Like, he's so flared up. I was like, maybe you should temper yourself before we actually start filming.
I know. I'm sorry.
It's been a couple of heavy weeks. And obviously, we want to do our best to bring you what the coverage, and then hopefully you can create your own opinion. Yes, we absolutely add our own color. As you can see, Mark's color today is bright red because he's all
That's a
heated
Cheeks reference.
up.
That's a Cheeks reference, okay? We don't need to, we all know about the Cheeks, okay? They're well established. Okay. But anyway, all right, so that's that,
all
okay?
Right.
But it's not going to get better. What I'm about to say now, this story, it makes me even more mad.
I know, because we're personally tied to this one. But
I mean, my goodness. Okay.
Let's dive
Go ahead.
into this
Yeah.
increase, what's been happening with the autism story. What?
Right.
You want to go ahead, speak.
No. I just put in this graphic, but Trump announced yesterday that.
Okay. Trump announced yesterday that that potential link between Tylenol given in utero could be linked to autism based on studies from Harvard and from Johns Hopkins.
Right.
So basically, here is a quick headline for this. It says autism rates amongst children by age 8.
This is the basis, right? So we look at the basis and we say, for those of you who are part of this community, as we are, with children with autism, this is incredibly important. And for us, and we've sat here and watched this, and you could see the rates skyrocket from basically 1992 all the way, on up to 2020. You could just see these rates
right.
climbing.
So if I could read the headline, sir, if you'd let me read the headline.
Sorry.
As you jumped all over me.
Sorry.
Autism rates
I'm
amongst children. Yeah. Okay.
Sorry. All right, now you're taking over. Go.
Okay, thank you. I just would like to read a headline.
I apologize.
Autism rates amongst children by age 8. Prevalence of autism increased nearly 400% in just 22 years. So it used to be that 1 in 150 children had autism. Now it's 1 in 31 children, and that's just been in the last 22 years. So now you can see this birth year, the massive uptick that continues to keep going. They're actually now even saying that, could the same thing that you're seeing an uptick in autism, could it also be giving you the uptick in ADHD? There's significant research that is showing that. And as a parent of an autistic child, I welcome research. Like, let's have the conversation. Let's discuss it. I'm not saying I know one way or the other because I don't. I have my own theories, but I want all the theories fleshed out because clearly it's not getting better. And so as a parent of an autistic child, what I don't want is to have another child be born with autism and have that struggle for that family. That's the goal is let's get this under control and better, like for our future children. So let's read a little bit of this. This came out of the White House yesterday. It said large-scale cohort studies, including the Nurses' Health Study 2 and the Boston Birth Cohort, reported associations between in utero exposure and later diagnoses of autism spectrum disorder and attention deficit disorder. Scientists have proposed biological mechanisms linking prenatal acetaminophen exposure to altered brain development and adverse birth outcomes. Andrea Baccarelli, as an MD, PhD, Dean of Faculty at Harvard Chan School of Public Health, said, quote, colleagues and I recently conducted a rigorous review funded by a grant from the National Institutes of Health of the potential risks of acetaminophen use.
Acetaminophen.
Okay, sorry, I can't say that.
That's all right.
Use during pregnancy. We found evidence of an association between exposure to
Acetaminophen.
during pregnancy and increased incidence of neurodevelopmental disorders in children. This is based on the Harvard University study using
Acetaminophen.
during pregnancy may increase children's autism and ADHD risk. And then Johns Hopkins University also did a study taking Tylenol during pregnancy associated with elevated risks for autism.
And
So-
ADHD.
And ADHD,
So the reason
yeah.
we include that for you is because this is some of what the White House is working off of. Okay? Real studies and a desire to try to find an answer, which for parents like us, there's nobody in the government, the highest levels of government, that has been talking about this the way the Trump administration has. I don't care if you like the Trump administration or not. If you are more than willing to get upset and back Tylenol over this versus trying to learn more so we can figure this out, you're the problem. You've taken politics and you've elevated it above the health of our children. That I can't help you with. And so what we've got here is a variety of different things we're going to look at here. But I want to show you something here because as Christy said, as parents of an autistic child, when you see the White House come out with an autism action plan, you are cheering. You are cheering because someone's doing something, and we don't think this is all the answer. I guarantee you Tylenol is not the whole answer, right?
Oh, I guarantee you. I mean, and again, we won't ever really probably know what's led to our daughter having autism, right? Like we won't know that. I can tell you personally, I didn't take Tylenol.
But they also talk about giving Tylenol to little kids
Yes,
when
which
they have
we
a
did
big,
do.
which we definitely did.
We definitely did
So
do
I
that.
don't know. And
Right.
again, I don't sit here and wear this around as some big portion of guilt because you know what, we didn't know.
Yeah.
But there's no excuse now to try to find out. That's where you should wear guilt.
Right.
Is if you're not willing to find out. And believe me, we saw an issue here in New Mexico where someone who should care about these kids more than anybody is taking up politics before the reality. So here's the autism action plan that the Trump administration put out. Again, whether you agree with every piece of this, if you're the parent of an autistic child or you know someone with autism, at least we've got people in leadership who are saying we're going after this problem.
Okay, did you want me to read all this?
Not necessarily, but a few things.
Well, it was just talking about they want doctors and families informed. The FDA will issue a physician notice and initiate a safety labeled change on
Acetaminophen.
research shows a potential association between
Acetaminophen.
using during pregnancy and adverse neurodevelopment outcomes. And then it says that
But for infants and toddlers.
And toddlers, right.
Okay, there are a lot of these cases where people talk about these things, right? And it's like, oh my gosh, then there was a fever and then there was an issue. Like, I don't know. None of
Right.
us know.
We just don't know. I
But
think
then
that's the scary part.
Yes,
We just don't
and then
know.
the bottom portion of this,
Yeah.
they're dedicating $50 million to start to work on this. Now,
Which
that's not enough.
It's not enough, but I am so pleased to hear that because if you when we found out that our daughter had autism, she was about 8 years old when she was diagnosed. And I remember I just dove into all of the research that was out there at the time. And I remember a lot of the voices at the time, one of those being Jenny McCarthy. She was really loud at the time.
Well,
and
yeah,
they were trying
on one issue, yeah.
On one issue. And they were really trying to silence her. And I just thought, why are we trying to silence her? Like, she may be wrong. She may be dead in the water wrong. I don't know. But why would we not want to try to uncover to see what the potentials could be that could be Is it food? Is it vaccines? What is it? Like, we need to find out because the uptick is strong. And another thing is, it's in America. So it's something that we're doing in America specifically to have this increase. So it's not worldwide. These numbers, these upticks are not going on across global. It's just happening here. So what are we doing in the United States that could be potentially leading to this? It's not just, hey, you're born with it, right? So we got to be able to figure it out. So I just welcome $50 million. I'll welcome any amount of money that we can put towards the research.
Yeah, and so then let's listen to Marty McCary, who is kind of spearheading all this. And here's what he says about what we want to do. And again, if you listen to Marty McCary, it's a reasonable take here in what he says. And I don't know what else to do for you. If you're more interested in hating Trump than trying to solve the autism problem, then that's a you problem. You should look in the mirror. That's where you should be embarrassed and ashamed, right there. So here's Marty McCary.
Much of the acetaminophen given for low-grade fevers and just given routinely, mindlessly, without even thinking why we're giving patients the option to not take it. Much of that, I think people deserve to have the information to know that there are some doctors with concerns, including the dean of the Harvard School of Public Health, who made a very clear statement that there is a causal relationship. I'm reading now from the statement of the dean of the Harvard School of Public Health. There is a causal relationship between prenatal acetaminophen use and neurodevelopmental disorders of ADHD and autism spectrum disorder. We felt an obligation to get this information out to everyday docs.
Okay, here's what's so important about that. Okay, and that is, listen to what he said. Think about this. And we had the kids with a fever or whatever. Would you have thought twice about giving them Tylenol?
No, because there's no warning on that at all.
If they were at 99 or 100 as a fever, you'd give them Tylenol like that.
Yeah, the little liquid drops.
Again, I don't know what Tylenol's role is, but there's clearly at least enough here to be concerned with. So what he's saying is, just don't randomly like Tylenol. Don't do it. So that is so valuable for parents. It doesn't mean you never give your kid Tylenol, but it could well mean that unless it's up 103-ish, then you could start saying, all right, this is a little tougher. Let's go to our doctor, talk about getting Tylenol. Okay.
Right.
So that's what's so maddening about all of this. But then what kills me is we see an article in today's Albuquerque Journal on Wednesday. And this is the headline.
It said New Mexico advocates and doctor decry Trump's autism claim. Again, I get that he's the president. I get that he did a press conference on this yesterday. I get all that. This isn't Trump's autism claim, okay? Again, this is backed by other researchers from schools of medicine, right, that we've leaned into for a long time that are basically saying, hey, let's look at these studies. Let's take a deeper look. So it says, after President Donald Trump, this is the article, after President Donald Trump spread misinformation about over-the-counter pain medicine and autism in a White House news conference Monday, a New Mexico-based autism advocacy group and an Albuquerque doctor are worried that pregnant patients could ignore their pain and be burdened with mom guilt.
What a stupid first paragraph. I will say this. This sounds so much like COVID. This sounds exactly like COVID language. You're spreading misinformation.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
It's the same playbook. It is the same exact playbook. And again, understand this. I understand the OBGYN we're about to quote here. I get it. I'm sure she's a smart lady who's a great OBGYN. She is not a medical researcher who goes through all this. She can't possibly be both.
No, she's just going on based on what they've been told for all the years that she has been a doctor.
Yeah.
And I respect and understand that. Guess what? Things might be changing. Like, we may want to have things like, look at that. There have been, this is what she says, there have been decades of research that has shown no causal link between acetaminophen in pregnancy and autism in children.
Okay, and then she goes on to say, robust studies, and there's been other stuff, and don't worry, nothing to see here is what she's saying. She has no idea.
She has no idea.
She's not a researcher. She's not. She's, I'm sure, a smart lady, but again, not productive. Again, we're not trying to, go through this and be like, hey, this is exactly right. but at least we're making steps forward. And when you have people stand up on political grounds, that's what this is. This is on political grounds saying, no, don't do this. Don't do this. We've heard this before.
Oh, this just reminds me of the ad that they used against you of, Mark doesn't believe in the science or
That's
whatever.
Right. That's right.
It was
They had
just
a doctor.
ridiculous.
Too many doctors are willing to stand up in some cases and put politics ahead of people. I don't know why they do it. But then in this article, they go on to say the president's also announced 13 new funding awards for research into understanding autism prevalence, treatment, and services. That's tremendous. That is a huge win for families with kids with autism. Okay, no doubt. Okay, but then here we go again. Professional medical organizations have pushed back against HHS and the president's claim. They say today's announcement by HHS is not backed by the full body of scientific evidence. In other words, you don't believe the science. Here we go again. There's 6 feet of distance. You don't believe the science. It's the whole thing. The shaming of people who stand up and say, wait a minute.
Let's look at it. Yeah.
Right? That's what makes this so bad.
Just look at it. Like, that's what's so frustrating. And I'm just disappointed in this statement from Christina Angel. She's a mother of 2 with autism and the executive director of the Autism Society of New Mexico. She's also, she says here, the president's news conference could have a negative effect on the autism community, according to Angel. Quote, it's very dangerous for the autism community as a whole, but especially to our mothers that might feel guilty for something they did during pregnancy that was deemed unsafe. Quote,
it was deemed safe.
Oh, it was deemed safe. We do not support the medical community in saying that Tylenol is safe. Oh, wait, we do support the medical community in saying that Tylenol is safe, and we want mothers to know that they did nothing wrong and they did what they needed to do for themselves and their child. Give me a freaking break. None of us, I don't feel guilty of being a mother of an autistic child. I don't sit here and go, oh my gosh, what did I do? What I would feel terrible about is if I put my blinders on and said, oh, well, this guy over here said there's no way it could have anything to do with X, Y, or Z. Tylenol couldn't be a factor. Vaccines couldn't be a factor. Our food supply couldn't be a factor. There's nothing that could be a factor. We've already done all the studies 15 years ago. We know. That's what I would feel guilty about, because then at that point, what's the next generation going to deal with? My daughters who have daughters, that we see this uptick from 400% to what, 600%, 800%? Like, enough. The guilt comes from saying that I'm okay with the answers that have been given to me up to today. I don't like the answers that have been given to me up to date. Now, do I think that Tylenol is the end-all be-all answer for this? More than likely, no. Right? But what I appreciate is the fact that we're actually looking into it so we can try to figure out what's happening to our kids. So enough of the mom guilt. I don't have mom guilt. I want us to find the answer and the solutions. And I feel like this Angel woman should want the same. And I'm disappointed in hearing what she had to say about this.
Well, again, this is the deal. When everything is political and you're the hammer, then everything's a nail. I mean, this whole article is political. They don't care. I'm sorry, Christina, this is ridiculous. I mean, did you make one mention of additional funding? And maybe they cut it out of the article. I don't know. Maybe she did. Maybe she said, you know what? At least we're headed in the right direction with funding. Maybe she said that and it didn't fit into this ridiculous article. Okay, but it is a terrible article from the Journal yet again. And again, it is. You see, and everybody's experience with this is different. Now, we don't want to tell Christina how to act, okay? Yeah. But at the same time, to sit there and say, I support Tylenol. You don't know the first thing about it. Yeah. You don't. See, you're a mom who's busting her butt getting to the end of the week. Yeah. You don't know the first thing about acetaminophen and the effect on an in utero brain or a young child's brain, and neither do I.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't claim to. So to go out there and act like you do is ridiculous. You're being used as a pawn.
For the story.
I really, sorry, see what I mean? It got even worse. But anyway, so here we go, just to give you a little bit more, to show you how political and nasty this environment is. And after this, we're going to have to halt because we're going way over on everything. But look at this. And there are these all over Twitter and TikTok. There are pregnant women going this route. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, Chan.
Right.
I don't know what to tell you. Like, you're going to go drink a ton of, or fire down a bunch of Tylenol to send Trump a message. You're nuts. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
What are you doing?
And
same thing, like getting in these articles just to come out for Tylenol because you don't like Trump. You just have no idea.
Yeah.
And so it's just heartbreaking.
It's just a house divided, and I hate it. I'm so sick of the politics being a part of literally every single conversation. Like, we've lost our senses, I think.
Okay. All right. So I'm sorry. So we've got this next thing. I want to just quickly talk about an article from Jonathan Turley. And this was something that was a huge issue a couple of days ago. Google admitted that under pressure from the Biden administration, they censored Americans' free speech on their platforms, YouTube mainly. Yep. Here it is.
It says, unacceptable and wrong. Google admits censorship in coordination with the Biden administration. Google made the disclosure in a letter to the House Judiciary Committee Chairman Jim Jordan. It says, quote, reflecting the company's commitment to free expression, YouTube will provide an opportunity for all creators to rejoin the platform if the company terminated their channels for repeated violations of COVID-19 and election integrity policies that are no longer in effect. Ridiculous.
It keeps going. This is another major victory for free speech, says Turley. Here he says, Google specifically acknowledged past political censorship and stated that it values conservative voices on its platform. Again, the suicide mission by by platforms like ABC, NBC, CBS, and Google to just take half the country and throw it away is ludicrous. That is one thing that this is an ugly fight right now, but it needs to happen for the betterment of the country, which is you cannot have one political party in charge of every outlet that gets people information. It has not worked. We've watched it. Okay. And believe me, Republicans and conservatives will make plenty of stupid mistakes and overstep. And believe me, the Trump administration at times, which we've talked about at times, especially with what happened with the FCC, never should have come out and said, we can do this the easy way or the hard way. You know, which happened with the FCC, which was stupid.
Yeah, it was stupid.
Right? It was an overreach.
Well, it's interesting. I was listening to Mark Halperin yesterday, and he had a really good point. He was talking about how both sides have always tried to use the government to try to, they want the government to help fight their cause or fight their side of the agenda. The difference is the media, which is legacy media, which is the primary media in our country, it's their coverage of that, right? So they will stick up for anybody that's on the left that is trying to use the government. They'll try to downplay. There's been a ton of censorship cases that have gone that Biden tried to have things censored on Fox News and in local television stations, all kinds of things. He was getting the FCC all fired up about things too under his administration. You just don't hear very much about it, right? You have this situation with Kimmel, and it's the world's on fire, right? So both sides have been doing this. Like, I'm sorry, but both sides have been doing it. And at the end of the day, you don't want FCC involved in anything unless it's like real true content that is damaging to the American public.
But this is even bigger. As Turley says, he says the company for the first time, meaning Google or Alphabet, admitted that it yielded to comprehensive pressure from the Biden administration to censor Americans. It acknowledged that the Biden censorship pressure was unacceptable and wrong and pledged to resist such pressure in the future. Good for Google for doing that. I mean, there's no doubt. But this is interesting because it says the very figures, and this is what Turley says kind of to wrap up the article, which is super poignant. The very figures claiming to battle disinformation were suppressing opposing views that have now been vindicated as credible. That's what this is so scary. And then you look back at this Tylenol thing. Again, it's kind of the reverse because the government's coming out and saying it. But a lot of people saying, no, you shouldn't be talking about that, shouldn't be doing it. But it's just fascinating because he gets back to the COVID thing. He says it was not only the lab leak theory, because that's where we got hit on ads, where doctors saying, I didn't believe in the science. Turns out we were right. Right? Okay. In my recent book, this is Turley, I discuss how signatories of the Great Barrington Declaration were fired or disciplined by their schools or associations for questioning COVID-19 policies.
Yeah, it says some experts question the efficiency of surgical masks, the scientific support for the 6-foot rule, and the necessity of shutting down schools. The government has now admitted that many of these objections were valid and that it did not have hard science to support some of the policies. While other allies in the West did not shut down their schools, we never had any substantive debate due to the efforts of this alliance of academic, media, and government figures.
Yeah,
I mean, it's like what we want to be able to do is have the conversation about autism. Have the conversation to see what could it possibly be. Don't just say bad Trump can't be true.
Yeah.
Like, and I would honestly say, I mean, I know that I'm going to get some hits for this, so go ahead, make the comments. I don't even really care anymore. But I think Trump overstated the message in his press conference yesterday. I think that him going out there and kind of just making it about his opinion, and he did say, this is my opinion. He did back it at least by saying that. I would love to have seen him to stay out of it and say, hey, listen, based on this research that has been allocated to us, this is what we are supporting as an administration. That would be a cleaner message.
A really fair point.
So I do get a little fiery about that, where I'm like, Trump, stop lighting things on fire for us. It's already hard enough. So
okay, no. I think it's a really good point. It's super fair point. And again, this is part of the show where it's like when something happens on our, what we consider the people we agree with more our side,
right,
we're going to tell you. And it's exactly right. I think Trump just speaks more plainly and was basically like, don't do it, don't take acetaminophen, or what. He had a little trouble with acetaminophen too. By the way.
He can't say it. I can't say it. So we're in the same company there.
Right.
But.
All right. We were going to do a little bit more on Kimmel. We're not really going to do much on Kimmel. I don't care about Jimmy Kimmel. I don't think it matters anymore. I don't think he matters. But I do want to just show you one graph or one graphic to make a broader point on this. And this is the left-leaning late night hosts. What kind of guests they've had. Okay, that's why if you own all these different affiliates, like if you're Nexstar or you're Sinclair or you're Tegna, you have late night programming which forces you to the left. They give you programming which forces you to the left. Just look at here, and Stephen Colbert, he's had 176 guests that were either liberal or Democrats over the past few years. He's had one Republican, okay? The Daily Show, which is cable, but still 157 to 9. Seth Meyers, NBC, 68 to nothing. He wouldn't even have anybody. I mean, this is ridiculous.
Yeah, Jimmy Kimmel's had 58 liberal Democrats and only 2 conservatives or Republicans. Fallon's had 41 liberals or Democrats on and only 2 Republicans or conservatives.
So those are the numbers.
And it keeps going. So if you just look at the total numbers, a total of 511 liberals and Democrat guests versus 14 conservative or Republicans. Yeah. If you think this is an unbiased situation, it's not.
And they've done the dumbest thing ever, which is turn themselves into political honks for one side, cut off half their audience, and they wonder why they're failing. Stephen Colbert is going to be off the air because he has failed in continuing to grow an audience. Jimmy Kimmel's done within a year or two, not because he is, someone who's of the left. It's because he cut off half his audience and calls them stupid and doesn't like them.
And right now, just to clarify, Nexstar and Sinclair have both said, listen, we're still not going to air a show. I don't care. I don't care what he does. We feel like our audiences have already told us they don't want him anymore. That's a third of his audience right there, that they're now gone. Yeah. So it's interesting to see how long you give him 2 years. I don't even think he lasts that long, quite frankly.
No, but they've got to figure out what they're going to do for programming that actually makes the audience bigger, not smaller. Remember, linear TV, the audience is shrinking. It just is.
It is.
It will be beyond what they're doing.
Right.
But then you make your life even harder. So there we go. Now, another big story here, right? I mean, this is a super interesting story. It says top Democrat opposed to adding medical compacts to the special session. Now, I want to talk to you about this because this is super important, okay? And I want you to understand what medical compacts are and what's going on here. So this is an issue that unites most of the state of New Mexico. But there are a few powerful people that it doesn't unite, and the governor actually gave away the game. She pointed out to exactly where the problem is, believe it or not. So we're about to firmly jump on the same side as Michelle Lujan Grisham. So
which doesn't happen often.
It doesn't, but you know what? Enjoy it, people.
Yeah.
So here we go. Here's a quote from the story to start things off.
It says, the interstate medical compacts would allow doctors and specialists to treat patients who live in other states via the use of telehealth or in-person visits. Advocates saying joining the compacts would help alleviate a long-standing healthcare provider shortage in New Mexico.
This is big, right? We're short on doctors. We could get doctors from other states. You could see other people, telehealth or whatever.
Well, and honestly, we have a child that's in college now.
Yeah.
She's not allowed to see the doctors that she sees here in New Mexico via telehealth.
Yeah.
Even though she saw them via telehealth in New Mexico, she can't do it because she's out of New Mexico now. So these doctors are wanting this to go through too.
Yep.
The state is currently only a member of one such compact, the one for nurses, and 10 bills approving membership in compacts for doctors, counselors, and physical therapists stalled in the Senate during this year's 60-day legislative session.
Hold on a second. Listen
due to some
that.
senators' concerns about legal sovereignty and patient safety.
Oh, stop with the patient safety.
I know. You know what's not safe for patients? Removing all doctors from them or not having doctors to be available for them. That's actually what hurts patients' safety.
But listen to that. 10 bills died in the New Mexico Senate, okay? And then you start to think to yourself, what's going on with the Senate here, right? Okay, so as we look at some of this and you see some of the details, just go through this too. So
New Mexico is currently one of only 7 states that has not passed legislation to join the Interstate Medical Licensure Compact for doctors, though implementation is still pending in several states. Quote, if you have no doctors here and nobody can get in, I don't see how you make the argument that you're leaning into patient safety.
hello,
Says
good for you, Governor.
Says Lujan Grisham this week.
Yeah, okay, so that wasn't
So
her
she's
only one.
admitting that there's no doctors here.
That's not, yeah. And by the way, she helped cause that problem.
Right,
But
still.
at least she's on the right side of it now. Okay, she is. So we're gonna give her credit. I cannot stand shows that don't give people credit when they pivot and make the right decision. It drives me crazy. She deserves great credit for that comment. She got a better one coming.
Okay. However, she indicated she would not ultimately include the compact bills on the agenda if Senate Democratic leaders remain opposed.
Okay, hold on one sec. Just give me 1 sec before you finish reading this. Okay, so what's going on is with the special legislative session, there is some limited time to do this. And she wants to include it in the special, get it passed and get it done. Okay? Because she has the support of most of the Democrats. She has the support of all of the Republicans. She knows that she's got what she needs to get this through, but she also knows if she doesn't get this group of collective senators on board, it won't go anywhere. They'll kill it. Okay? But why would they kill it?
But listen, she says, however, she indicated she would not ultimately include this
I understand
compact bill.
because she knows it will not pass.
Ridiculous.
Quote,
okay,
here we go.
sir.
Here we go. Here it
Zip
comes. Here it comes.
Quote, I worry there are so many trial lawyer leaders in the Senate that it gets caught there. Wow.
Here we go. And by the way, our guy
Welcome to all the attorneys in our Senate.
Bingo. I mean, that's giving away
Trial
the game.
lawyers.
She said it herself. She's like, there are too many trial lawyers in the Senate. They're going to kill it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's unbelievable. And then, of course, they name who?
This was an apparent reference to Democratic senators like Joseph Cervantes, old Joe, we just talked about him, of Las Cruces, Katie Duhigg of Albuquerque, who both hold Senate committee chairmanships and have expressed misgivings about the medical compacts. Now, going on, most of the compact bills passed the House of Representatives during this year's session, and House Speaker Javier Martinez, who's a Democrat from Albuquerque, recently indicated the House could move quickly to pass them again. Meanwhile, top Republican legislators have called on the governor to include the medical compacts and other hot-button issues on the special session agenda.
Okay, think about this. Governor, every Republican, Javier Martinez, who we lit up last week for rhetoric that's over the top, has said, I'll pass it through the House.
Yeah.
And no.
No, because we got some trial lawyers in the Senate that are saying, nope, we don't want to sign this. We don't want to have telehealth help for our people that live in this state.
I'm telling you, you guys, we talk about it all the time. It is just, we have leaders that far too often are grandstanding for their own benefit. And our healthcare is being destroyed.
And what is the benefit? That's what I guess I don't understand. What's the benefit for them?
Because they want to be able to sue. And they want to be able to sue and get money out of, I mean, that's why the medical malpractice rates are so high, because we sue like crazy here. And it enriches trial attorneys at the expense of doctors. You can't have both. You either have to have some sort of tort reform that benefits bringing more doctors in. I'm sorry, if you make this environment too difficult for doctors, they're not coming here. And that's what's happened. And believe me, the whole legislature on the Democratic side does deserve blame for that, because that's what they've created. But you've got some Democrats now that are like, wait a minute, we do need to adjust this.
We have a huge health crisis, and we need to fix it.
And they're not doing it.
So it's ridiculous. Okay, well, this person, whoever wins CD2 race, won't unfortunately be able to help us with our medical care crisis, but
probably not.
could potentially help us in the House. So more candidates have joined the second congressional district race. Voters won't be able to cast ballots in the second congressional race until next year, but the field of candidates has begun to expand. Incumbent Democrat Gabe Vasquez officially launched his reelection campaign over the weekend. A retired Albuquerque police detective Greg Cunningham is the second Republican planning to enter the race, joining radio station owner Eddie Aragon. Historically, the second congressional district is the most competitive of the 3 states' districts. It encompasses much of the southern New Mexico, but also reaches north into Albuquerque's South Valley. Aragon and Cunningham both live in Albuquerque, while Vasquez lives in Las Cruces.
Okay, so it's going to be an interesting race. There are more people getting in, so it's not just going to be those guys, not going to be those 3.
We might have some sources that tell us that there might be more people getting in there.
Yes, and I think we'll have some good candidates there. I really do. I think that's going to
We'll
be really
continue
good.
to cover that race for those people that are looking into that.
Right. And
as
so
well.
this last clip I have for you, this is it. Okay, we're wrapping on this one.
We are?
We are.
Okay.
Is there some other stuff?
No, it's great.
Okay,
Yeah,
good.
Go.
So this last clip is our guy Harry N talking about where people are on the issues. Now we know we've talked about the fact that if you look at Trump's numbers, he's underwater, right now. And everybody's like, oh, Trump's underwater. Things aren't going well. People are going to the Democrats. Oh, no. Au contraire, mon frère. It's the opposite, actually. Listen to what Harry Enton says about the numbers right now leading into an election year.
Yeah, what are we seeing? Donald Trump being underwater, Democrats saying, oh, this guarantees us we're going to fly high in the midterms. Let me tell you, this guarantees you nothing, because at this particular point, the Democrats are the New Orleans Saints of political parties. What are we talking about? Trust the Dems or GOP more on the economy? Who leads on the economy? Republicans by 7. Immigration, Republicans by 13. How about crime? A big issue for Donald Trump and the Republicans. Look at that. Lead by 22 points. So the bottom line is this. At this particular point, the ball may be on the ground, but the Democrats have not picked up the ball and running with it. If anything, at this particular point, it's the Republicans who are running with the ball on the top issues, the economy, immigration, and crime.
Give some context on this. Compare this when Republicans last took the House.
Yeah, let's compare it back to 2022. I think this kind of gives away the game right here. Okay, the GOP is more trusted than the Dems on the economy. It was 12 points in 2022. Slight decline in that lead, but still 7 points. How about immigration? It was Republicans by 3 back in 2022. Look at this. The Republican lead's actually gone up by 10 points. What are you doing, Democrats? My goodness gracious. And on crime, the Republicans were up by 13, and now they're up by 22. The lead again expanding by nearly double digits. So whatever Democrats are doing, it ain't working, Kate. It ain't working. Republicans have the lead on all 3 issues.
What's the reason that you are finding so far that's driving this?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's all about the center of the electorate, right? You win with independents, you win overall. And what do we see right here among independents? Republicans still have a point lead on the economy. They got a 10-point lead on immigration. They got a 21-point lead on crime. The bottom line is when you look at these numbers, Democrats should call their offices because at this particular point, even if Republicans or even if the public doesn't like what Donald Trump is doing, they ain't necessarily liking what Democrats are doing. And it ain't just a referendum on one party. You actually have to go out and beat that party. At this particular point, Democrats are not able to beat Republicans. They still
and again, this isn't as Donald Trump came into office. These are numbers from this month.
These are numbers from September.
Yeah, that's interesting, yeah.
I mean, so let me just put a bow on all this. And that is that when you have an approach that is this kind of lost for a message, you need leaders who stand up and are going to need to redirect their party. And so I get all the whole, can you turn it into Trump or whatever? But when the center of the electorate looks at your approach on so many different issues and goes, no, that doesn't work, you got a huge problem. And so I don't know. Today is one of those days where it's just everything feels political. I can't stand it. I think good leaders transcend political fights, but we're not seeing that.
Yeah, we'll have to see. Okay, well, we promise to bring you a few lighter stories on this weekend. I promise. I'm going to find them if Mark doesn't, because I need his blood pressure to go down a little bit, okay? Thank you so much for spending some time with us. We have been asked, how can you help us out more? There's a few things you can do. Go on Apple and Spotify if you're a listener. Rate and review us there. It's really helpful for us. If you're listening on YouTube, like and subscribe. That helps us there. Sign up for our email on nodoubtaboutitpodcast.com. And you can also donate to the cause, which is our podcast, if you'd like. And you can do that on the website as well. Thank you so much for spending some time with us. We appreciate your comments. Keep them coming in and have a great rest of your work week. Take care.
You've been listening to the No Doubt About It podcast. We hope you've enjoyed the show. We know we had a blast. Make sure to like, rate, and review. We'll be back soon, but in the meantime, you can find us on Instagram and Facebook at No Doubt About It Podcast.
No doubt about it.
The No Doubt About It podcast is a Choose Adventure Media production. See you next time on No Doubt About It.
There is no doubt about it.